And you swing through Paris, you got to go see like the Eiffel Tower. We got our own Eiffel Tower. It has a cowboy hat on it, a little red cowboy hat. You know, you say you like country music, go get your picture, put your Beyonce in the background, you know, and rock out.
Oh no. Yes, I will, because I love it. So you said growing up there, it wasn't a lot of representation, but I guess, was it almost like,
you know, representation. So that's interesting that you bring that up, because I was having this conversation just recently at work. Growing up in a small town like Paris, Texas, you don't really see a lot of like extremely successful African American figures. You know, they either work in a soup plant, you know, or something like that, because it's Campbell Soup is one of the plants that's there. We had Kimberly Clark, which is another plant that's there.
Okay.
You know, so the most successful African American people you would see there work in a plant or something like that. Or, you know, or you have your coaches and things of that work for the school district. You know, my mom was a social worker. So, you know, and I tell people all the time, I don't know that I would have went to college if my mom didn't go to college while I was coming up. So, you know, I watched my mom go to school and my aunt go to school, you know, and elevate their careers while I was in school myself, you know, but I didn't meet, you know, Black executives and things like that. I didn't meet a Black executive really until I graduated college and met my mentor. And that's what really changed my life, because I met somebody that looked like me, that was extremely successful in business, that would joke like me. That representation is what, you know, transitioned who I was into recognizing who I could become, because it's hard to be what you never see.
That's true.
You know, so I didn't come up around that. So I was green to a lot of that.
Yeah.
You know, and so I moved like a person that was from Paris, Texas, you know. You know, drug dealers was the successful people,
right?
You know, in the area that I grew up in. I saw the cars and the things that they had, and that's stuff that I would desire, you know, at that age. But I didn't see anybody doing that on a legal level until I moved up here and went to UNT and started kind of being exposed to the world a lot more.
So that is. So I love that you bring up the mentorship, because that is just so important for folks to pick up, that you did find yourself a mentor. How did you find your mentor? And tell me more about that mentor.
Honestly, just happenstance. You know, again, I was green. I was kind of you know, wanted to carve my own way. I went to school for acting. So I
wanted to go to school for acting. Oh my goodness. But I never got a chance to.
Yeah. So I just graduated school and was like, oh, I'm about to move to LA, you know, go chase the dream, that kind of life. And my mom had gone to a women's conference and met this lady, Apostle Tina, Pastor Tina at that time. And she was telling me all these things about her. And oh, she's amazing. And, you know, she preaches the word mighty and these kind of things. And her husband's this, you know, big executive at AT&T or whatever in corporate America. And I this is how green I was. Like I tell you, I'm from Paris. The entire time she was talking to me, I just knew for certain that she was talking about white people. I was like, you know, these people are white.
Right.
You know, this lady's white. Her husband's white. And, you know, she's made a connection with these people in church, and that's fine. But then she says, well, they're starting a church in Louisville at this hotel. And I'm living in Louisville. I just moved from Denton to Louisville, just graduated college. I'm living in Louisville. And she's like, they're going to start church, you know, in Louisville at this hotel. And so the hotel was a mile from where I lived. So I was like, okay, cool. I'll come there, whatever. And I went in there and I met, of course, the pastor, and I met her husband. And I you know, he just kind of passively was just like, hey, you know, send me your resume. And I was like, you know, this looks like a respectable dude. I'll send him my resume. I don't, you know, no big deal. You know, and I sent them my resume, and some lady called me up out the blue one day and was just like, hey, got your resume from him. What do you want to do? And I was like, I don't know nothing about your company, or whatever the case may be. And she was like, well, you did well in school. You got great grades. I could put you in this business leadership development program, and you'll move to Atlanta for 6 months, and then we'll disperse you. And I was like, oh, move to Atlanta 6 months? That don't sound too bad. But I said, by disperse, do you mean you'll send me back to Dallas, or you'll send me to LA where I would like to be? Or do you mean you can send me to Spokane, Washington? And she said, well, yeah, the latter. And I said, well, no, I can't do that. I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to be just put somewhere in the middle of the country, you know? And so she was like, well, you got all this sales experience. I worked at the Buckle selling clothes the entire time.
Yes,
the entire time I was in college. That was my hustle.
Oh, that might be. I don't know. You stay fly.
I had all the clothes and all that. It was a cool job. But she's like, y'all sales experience and they make good money. And I was like, well, what's your idea of good money? And she's like, well, I can't tell you that, but you know. So I was like, out of respect for this guy, I'll just go through the interview process.
Yeah.
And I did. And they sent me a contract, and I went, looked at it. I was like, man, you mean to tell me? At bare minimum, if I just hit my goal, I'll make $50,000.
Wow.
To sell cell phones in the air condition. And I had friends coming out of college. They were all taking entry level positions at, you know, mortgage companies and things like that, paying them $33,000, $34,000. So I'm like, I'm that much further ahead of my friends. But I still was like, oh man, I'm about to get this bag, save this money, and move to LA. And, you know, I started working there, and I walked in the first day, and this guy said, well, how much money did you make here last year? Guy said he made $85,000. I said, you made $85,000 in here selling cell phones?
People don't understand.
It's like, I'm about to go. I'm about to get it for real. And I remember calling my mom, like, is my chick bigger than yours yet? You know, that kind of thing. But that was how I met him, you know, and took on that job. You know, back to your original question, how I met him was just that, just meeting him there in church. And then we began to cultivate a relationship. Just, you know, I guess he saw something in me, you know, maybe that I didn't even see in myself at that time. And we began to cultivate a relationship that way. And, you know, he's been my mentor ever since. Well,
you know what? I did not know that our little church that we attended, right? Did I meet you? I met you at the church.
Yeah.
With Apostle Tina, which I met her on the side of the road. She was going to buy some hair, and she was coming, and I said she got a flat tire, and I said, that's okay. I'm in Allen. I said, which way are you? She said 121. I said, I'll come and meet you. I met her on the side of the road. When I tell you, when she just walked up to me with the flat tire and all, it was just like a glow around her. Yeah. And I looked and I was like, I said, you are beautiful. She just said, oh, so are you. And then we just started talking. And from that day, it was just all love. And then I went to hear her preach, and, you know, it was a done deal for me. And we were tiny. Like you said, it was at Louisville still. The church was still meeting at the hotel in Louisville. And I can't believe it's been that many years. How long ago you think that?
Well, that was, they just had a 14-year anniversary. So 14 years. You know,
has it been that long? That is crazy. So I had no idea that. I'm not exactly sure what year you and I met. I just remember, I don't even know what year. I know we did real estate business together. I sold you and your wife a house.
Let me see. Maddox is 8. So that was 8 years ago.
Wow.
Yeah, 8 years ago.
That's crazy. It's been, and so just think about it. Before that, we were just attending the same church. And so, yes, I know this amazing mentor of yours who, what was he, an officer at AT&T?
Yeah, he was an executive. He was the president, in multiple spaces, of course.
And CEO and it all over the place.
Now he's a CEO.
Yeah.
So, he's phenomenal. But a guy that, you know, very humble. You know, his humility is like second to none. And, you know, like I said, just meeting him and seeing how he moves, seeing how he loves his family, you know, seeing how he puts God first, like those kind of things, like that. I couldn't ask for a better mentor in that man. But again, meeting him, that changed the entire trajectory of my life. That changed exactly, you know, who I thought I was and wanted to be into becoming who I am today. Wow. So I owe him a lot of credit.